Hello, I'm Matt Galloway, and this is the Current Podcast. Israel and Hezbollah are trading strikes today after the breakdown of a year-long truce and as conflict expands further across the Middle East. After Saturday's military strike on Iran by the United States and Israel, U.S. President Donald Trump says his country plans to keep the attacks on Iran going for as long as 4 to 5 weeks. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, is dead, and strikes by the U.S. and Israel have reportedly destroyed numerous military targets as well as hitting civilian areas. More than 100 people were killed when an Israeli strike hit an elementary girls' school, according to Iranian state media. Iran has answered with strikes in Israel, killing 9 people. They have also targeted U.S. bases and other sites in Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Kuwait. And 4 U.S. military personnel have been killed. Ali Vaez is director of the Iran Project and senior advisor with the International Crisis Group. Ali, good morning.
Good morning, Matt.
You wrote in Foreign Affairs that these strikes, in your words, have opened a Pandora's box with no clear objective within reach and no clear path to de-escalation. Where are we 3 days into this?
Well, 3 days into this, it has escalated much quicker than many expected. And it has inflicted cost on the United States in ways that I think President Trump didn't foresee. He bombed several countries since he came back to office. In fact, he used 660 times bombed different countries. And in all of those, there were no American casualties. Already on day 2 of this, there were 3 American fatalities and several injuries. This has already spread out to the Gulf states and Israel. Israel is in a fight with Hezbollah. Iraqi Shia militias have targeted U.S. assets there. We've seen Shia and Pakistanis targeting U.S. consulate there. So it is becoming very ugly very quickly.
Who's in charge of Iran today? And what is whoever is in charge there looking to achieve? You'd said that the response by Iran could be a costly miscalculation.
So currently there is an interim council that has assumed the responsibilities of the office of the Supreme Leader, which is comprised of the president, the head of the judiciary, and a member of the Guardian Council. But I think power has really gravitated towards 2 individuals, the National Security Advisor, Ali Larijani, and the Speaker of Parliament, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf. Both of those individuals are former commanders of the Revolutionary Guards and experienced in statecraft. It appears Larijani is running the day-to-day management of the country and the grand strategy at this moment. And Ghalibaf is almost acting commander-in-chief for the war effort. And the Iranian game here is a game of endurance. They know that they're not going to be able to win in this conflict, but if they do not lose and they survive, that would be victory for them.
And for those who are attacking Iran, who's calling the shots right now, do you think? Is it Donald Trump or is it the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu?
Look, I think the division of labor between Israel and the U.S. is that Israel is more targeting the regime's leadership, military and political, and the U.S. is degrading the regime's retaliatory capacity and its military infrastructure, command and control. If this war further escalates, then we might see Israel also joining in the effort of trying to target missile silos or the energy infrastructure in the country and so on. But it does appear that the U.S. and Israel are fully coordinated in this effort.
Go back to what I said earlier, which is quoting the piece that you wrote in Foreign Affairs, that this is a Pandora's box with no clear objective. What do Israel and the United States, as you understand it, hope to achieve here?
Well, this is where I think there is a daylight between the U.S. and Israel, in the sense that President Trump has said that the ultimate objective is to dismantle the Iranian regime in a way that the Iranian people would be able to come back to the streets and take over their institutions. Now, in my view, that there's a lot of wishful thinking there because this is a deeply entrenched regime and also deeply benched, and it can replace officials that it loses in this conflict relatively quickly. And for it to completely lose its repressive capacity, you have to eliminate hundreds of thousands of Revolutionary Guards and their security forces and deprive them of even the small guns that they were using to kill protesters in January when they committed a bloody massacre. You have to remember, Matt, that this is not Syria during the civil war, that Assad was using fighter jets and tanks and dropping barrel bombs and using chemical weapons. The massacre, the bloodbath of January of this year was done with small arms. So to completely neutralize that repressive capacity, it requires weeks, if not months, of bombing at very high civilian casualty price. But that is the end game that the U.S. has described. I think for Prime Minister Netanyahu is not regime change, is regime collapse or even state collapse. He wouldn't mind if Iran becomes a fragmented country and is involved in chaos and civil strife, because that would eliminate a regional rival for good and would force Iran to be internally focused and would ensure that Israel would have full hegemony in the region.
And so, just finally, I mean, the question in everyone's mind is what happens next. You're already seeing jockeying for power. You're seeing people like the exiled Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi appear on 60 Minutes last night talking about how he wants to be a transitional leader and that he believes he has some support within military units for him returning to Iran. What do you make of that?
Well, if he has support, we still haven't seen it, because the reason that the Islamic Republic has survived despite all of its failures and brutality is that there are no cracks at the top and the security apparatus has remained pretty cohesive. But for sure, the former Crown Prince has support within the country. What we don't know is the extent of that support and also whether there is any organizational capacity on the ground, because that is way more important than having just support. In 1979, his father was toppled by Ayatollah Khamenei, who also led a revolution from exile, but he had tremendous organizational capacity on the ground through a network of mosques and charitable organizations. That seemed to be absent at this moment.
This is a fast-moving story. I hope we have the chance to talk again in the next few days. In the meantime, Ali, thank you for this.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Ali Vaez is director of the Iran Project, senior advisor with the International Crisis Group. Payam Akavan is an Iranian-Canadian human rights lawyer. We spoke in January, and he joins us once again on the program. Payam, good morning to you.
Good morning, Matt.
In January, when we spoke, that was just in the days following the crackdown on protests in Iran, where many thousands of people were killed. And you said, Iran has become a cemetery where the hopes of our youth are buried. Do you believe the hopes of that young generation in Iran are better off today than before the strikes?
Matt, those were my words before the UN Human Rights Council as the body count mounted. And we now know that an estimated 30 to 35,000 largely youthful protesters were killed. Are they better off today? I think we have to take a wider historical picture. First of all, the mass killings, the war, it is a profound tragedy. And the biggest victims are the Iranian people. But this has been a long time in the making. And over 47 years, you have an Islamic Republic that began in its very first days with mass executions, with a hateful ideology, with violent repression, which shut the door to any prospect of reform, even among the Islamists, let alone a wider democratic transformation to a secular state, which I believe is probably what the majority of Iranians want today, having witnessed half a century of totalitarianism. So it was not yesterday that this tragedy unfolded. And the Iranian people are not naive. They understand that the foreign powers are pursuing their own self-interest. No one feels sorry for them. But it is a measure of their desperation that when the Supreme Leader Khamenei was assassinated, that people came out in the streets and celebrated. I think it's really a measure of just how much they have suffered. And it's also a measure of this incredible trauma of the mass killings which occurred in January. So in answer to your question, are they better off today? I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I don't know when this nightmare will end for these people. But I do think this is ultimately a historical struggle of the Iranian people themselves. You cannot bomb a country into democracy. The regional geopolitical rivalries are playing out. And one should also ask why the Islamic Republic has no friends in the region except some extremist Shia militia in neighboring countries. Why has it not pursued a pragmatic and enlightened policy of pursuing the national interest instead of exporting a revolution? So what I'm saying is that the people are now stuck between a regime that kills them and foreign powers that are bombing the country, and that is the profound tragedy that I was referring to.
What concern do you have for the legality of this action by the United States and Israel?
Well, the UN Charter provides that the use of force should be confined to self-defense or collective security authorized by the Security Council. Some believe that there is a doctrine of preemptive self-defense, especially when it comes to the development of weapons of mass destruction. So we can analyze the legal framework. But what a lot of people have been saying is, well, what about the responsibility to protect? Is sovereignty a license for mass murder? So that has been the debate. But at this stage, it doesn't matter anymore in the sense that the Pandora's box, as your previous speaker has said, has been opened. The question now is there light at the end of the tunnel, and how do the majority of Iranians that wanted a peaceful democratic transformation, where does this leave them? And I do think that the Islamic Republic has a lot to answer for in terms of bringing us to this very tragic point.
Mark Carney, Canada's Prime Minister, is in India on a trade trip, but he did say that Canada supports the United States acting to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon and to prevent its regime from further threatening international peace and security. What do you make of Mark Carney's response?
Well, I think Canada has certain interests together with its allies. We live in a lawless world, more so than ever today. So I think that this is more a statement of national interest than it is one of principles of international law and what have you. But I do think that, as I said before, this has been a long time in the making. The Islamic Republic has been a menace to the region for a very long time, not only towards its own people, but towards virtually all of the neighboring states. And the question now is, how are we able to once and for all resolve the situation? And as I said, it's profoundly tragic that we have a war and violence and massacres. It is a failure of diplomacy, a failure of international law. But I do have confidence that ultimately the people of Iran will be able to pick up the pieces and rebuild a country, a secular democracy, which instead of destabilizing the region, will encourage peace, stability, and progress. But sadly, we may have to witness a lot of violence before that happens.
Payam, good to speak with you, as always. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt.
Payam Akhavan is an Iranian-Canadian human rights lawyer. Shaparak Shajarizadeh is an Iranian women's rights activist, former political prisoner who left Iran in 2018, now lives in Toronto and has been watching very closely, obviously, what's happened over the course of this weekend. Shaparak, good morning to you.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. I know that you have family, close family in Iran. What have you heard? What have you heard from them?
Like the first hours of the strike on Saturday early in the morning, when I heard the news, I was worried. I tried to contact my brother. That time I could, and I could talk to them, but after a few hours since Saturday morning, it's not possible to contact anyone. We tried every possible way to contact our loved ones inside Iran, but it seems that there is another internet blackout, unfortunately.
That must be terrifying, not to be able to be in touch with them.
Correct, yeah. We are you have no idea how we feel, yeah.
The diaspora here is huge. It is an enormous community here, but it's not a monolith. There are many different perspectives and many different points of view in that community. I'm just asking for your own take on this. I mean, this is the question that I asked Payam. Do you believe that the young people in that country, the people who were out protesting on the streets in January, are they better off today than they were last week?
I have no idea. People have been waiting, for international community to step forward. I know the fact that people inside Iran, the first hours of the strikes, they were happy. My brother was happy. I told him that this is not fair. I'm worried sick here, but he was happy. And because Iranian people, they did everything. They used every possible way. We had hope for any kind of reform. They participated in different elections. When they realized there's not going to be any reform, they went to street. They had peaceful protests, but they killed people, their own people in the streets. And there was a bloodbath last month. So people are desperate, especially people inside Iran are desperate. But at the same time, no one in the world wants to see their homelands being bombed. This is terrifying, especially when you hear the news of civilians, innocent people get killed during the strike. But at the same time, even though people know that they may get killed in the streets, they went out to celebrate the death of the bloodthirsty dictator in Iran, who was responsible for thousands and thousands death of innocent young people.
What do you hope for the future? What do you, when you think of the future of Iran, what are you hoping for?
We've been fighting for freedom and democracy for years, but right now I fear that I know that they want to engage other countries in the region into a real war, and my fear is some kind of civil war or a real war in the region. I don't want to see the people, the cities, get ruined, and people, I don't want to see any innocent people get killed, either by the Islamic regime or by the strikes. And I hope that I don't know, we are hoping that we can get rid of this dictatorship regime, but at the same time we realized how brutal the regime can be. Iranian people experienced an awful, unbelievable tragedy last month.
Yeah.
So I have no idea what's going on. We're just worried sick.
I wish the best for your family. I hope you get in touch with them, and I hope that they're okay. And we'll talk again as this unfolds. Shaparak, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Shaparak Shahjarizadeh is an Iranian women's rights activist, former political prisoner, who is now in Toronto. You've been listening to The Current Podcast. My name is Matt Galloway. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you soon.